Hey aspirants, welcome to Insights I Can initiative. So I hope you're writing the answers carefully and with all the viewpoints that you are getting. And today we'll start with the first article as we just celebrated Constitution Day on 26th of November. Let us discuss an article that had come up in Hindu, which all of you would have read it. And we also will practice a question. That is, you'll get a question on that as well. So the first article for the day is Feminist Ideology in Indian Constitutional Discourse. So basically, this article was talking about many women political leaders who had an active participation in our constituent assembly, but still we address our constitution as the fathers of Indian constitution or founding fathers of Indian constitutional bedrock, but we hardly acknowledge this quiet mothers who have had a major role in sowing the seeds of feminism or even the idea of equality. So if you get any questions with respect to feminist movement and Indian government giving rights, universal adult franchise or any other rights to women, please mention about the women leaders that we are going to discuss about. And also you can quote the textbook or quote a book written by Achyut Chetan, Founding Mothers of the Indian Republic, in which many gender perspectives of politics have been discussed. So first we'll see what is the crux of this book. It has given a positive viewpoint of leaders who had participated in the making of our constitution. So how is he framing the Indian feminist movement as? It is based on will of women participants, it is based on the consent of women leaders, and there were many dissenting women voices as well. They were also accommodated in the constitution making process. So constitution has not just drafted by the consent of women but also by the will of women. So he has given many positive ideas by saying that how various leaders have contributed positively in the writing of our constitution. On the other hand, or to call a counter view, this article also contained the ideas of Christine Keating, who is a constitutional analyzer. So she, in one of her articles in a theory, had written that framing the post-colonial sexual contract, so democracy, fraternalism and state authority in India. So this can be taken as a negative viewpoint to tell how much has not been changed in the Constituent Assembly. So she has told that how founding fathers constitutionally subjugated women in most of the decisions, let's say by giving equality under various articles like 14, 15 and the others, they have yet sanctioned discrimination against women. How is it possible? By pushing uniform civil code to directive principles of state policy. Many of the religious laws are influencing or deepening the idea of patriarchy or inequality of the gender. So by allowing every religion to have its own laws in the personal context, on the other hand, by giving Article 14 and 15, it is nothing but a perpetuation of male patriarchy and maintaining women's subordination in the family. So you can keep both the viewpoints by telling, depending on the question that has been asked in your mains GS paper 1. So the beginnings or some analysis were done here. To be specific, you can remember the names of all these people whose name have also been mentioned in many NCRT textbooks, and try to have some 2 to 3 lines of contributions of these women in deepening the idea of feminism in India. So the first topic we would discuss, or first point discussed by the author here, was about Amrit Kaur. The leader called Amrit Kaur, who was part of our Constituent Assembly. It is told that she didn't glorify the romantic celebration of Indian culture. That is, many a times in Constituent Assembly, Indian culture was given a lot of importance and told that Indian culture is superior to the Western culture. But she was not agreeing to all the aspects of Indian culture because the same culture provided subjugation of women rights. So women, she tells during the Constituent Assembly that they were no longer willing to submit to the standards set by local people or any men of the society. They are going to write their own standards by participation in Constitutional Assembly debates. So this was a statement made by Rani Amrit Kaur. The second aspect discussed here is fight against a Goliath. So this term was very familiar, fight against Oh, Goliath in the sense when we were making laws, we had a huge enemy in the form of the social setup that had constantly put the women in a downtrodden position. So fundamental rights, as they're not just injunctions against the state, but a whole social character that liberated women from social chains. So in this explanation, the author quotes a very popular figure called Hansa Mehta. This personality has demanded that uniform civil code must be provided. Reason: it will give equal footing to women irrespective of which religion they follow or which religion they practice. So the third major idea of this article was related to the concept of secularism. So here we have uh, Isa's Rasul, an important leader in the Constituent Assembly, Isaac Rasul. She told that secularism was the most outstanding feature. So it limits the right of religion as it would curtail women's rights to equality and social reforms, because she told that if you give Article 25 with a free will, it would subjugate the rights of women as well. So if you see here, a very popular quote of Amrit Kaur has been quoted. Do take a note of it. I'll repeat it in a slow pace. A man's right to religion conquered the women's right to equality and dignity. So it was felt very apt, as Constitutional Assembly, or simply even now, Uniform Civil Code is all the time in use. So remember that this justification would help us to strengthen the ideas for Uniform Civil Code. And last but not the least, we have another important Constituent Assembly member called Kamala Devi Chattopadhyay. So she told that Constitution is going to be a new beginning for Indian women. So with all these discourses, do you think there is anything lacking with respect to feminism in India? The author talks about a few lacunae, that is, negatives or how status quo needs to be changed. First one is, we do not have a feminist state woman, or a woman who is very passionate about feminist as an ideology, or even a jurist or a judge who imparts feminism. That concrete personality is absent, is what the author tells. The second idea is absence of women in power corridors, or where laws are made. Here the sufficient representation of women is not existing. The third one, uniform civil code remains unimplemented, which was a boon to Indian women to bring equality on multiple footing. So with this analysis, try to answer this question for 10 marks here, which is talking about the contributions of women in the making of Indian constitution remain largely unacknowledged. So critically analyze the role of eminent women in the Constituent Assembly and discuss how their contributions can be better integrated into India's popular narrative of nation building. So to write the answer, we'll soon be providing the model for it. So coming to the next article, it is from an editorial in Deccan Herald talking about Swachh feats belie workers' struggle. So basically, Swachh Bharat mission has completed 10 years anniversary already. So we get many analysis articles in newspapers on how successful it is or where many gaps need to be filled. One of the gap is that we call about the role of sanitation workers. So this program has been most transformative in public health campaigns, but the role of sanitation workers is extremely challenging here. So why is it challenging? We'll see that part, or what are the challenges faced by sanitation workers who maintain hygiene standards by managing waste, water and solid waste. So their role is extremely crucial. But what are the challenges they are facing? We have not given due concern towards it. So first one is they have many occupational hazards. So what are the occupational hazards associated with them? They get exposed to many dangerous environment which pushes them in danger all the time. Second is they keep coming in contact with human waste all the time. So this human waste will expose them to many pathogens which causes disease like hepatitis, tetanus and others. And the third important issue or challenge that they would face is disinfectant and other chemical. Okay, disinfectants and other chemicals, they are frequently coming in association with them, and what is the safety gear provided to them is negligible. So this can lead to skin and respiratory issues. And we also talk about poisonous gases they are frequently forced to get exposed to. Poisonous gases like hydrogen sulfide, which is very lethal for them if they get exposed to it for a longer period of time. In addition, they always are succumbing to physical injuries as well. So this physical injuries from cuts, some kind of slip that they fall, or they may even get electrocuted. This is another major challenge that we need to draw our attention towards. And one of the important ideas is the social stigma associated with this profession. So this profession is very much psychologically and psychologically demeaning, and society doesn't give them the due recognition that they should get, pushing them to anxiety and depression. So as a result of this work pressure, many a times people resort to substance abuse, that is consumption of alcohol, to cope up as a cope up mechanism for the stress. So many reports have told that on an average the lifespan of a sanitation worker in India is not more than 40 to 45 years, which is comparatively very less among the other counterparts. So when these many struggles exist, what are the measures taken to solve this problem? We'll note down the measures very quickly. Safai Mitra Suraksha. Safai Mitra Suraksha is one of the initiative taken by Tamil Nadu and Odisha government. The second initiative is Manual Scavenging Prohibition Act. We have seen this has been an old legislation in India where manual scavenging is prohibited. The third one is a recent initiative called Namaste scheme, where government is talking about mechanizing the whole work of sanitation. So mechanization as a solution to human labor. And recently government has increased Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana scheme to the sanitation workers as well. But according to National Commission on Safai Karmacharis, we see that still 1,275 workers up to August 2024 have lost their life under unhygienic conditions. So here comes the suggestion part, or what could be the way ahead to make life better. So one of the suggestions comes from the government itself with a recommendation to establish emergency response sanitation units. What will be the work they do? They would regulate human entry into sewers and septic tanks by developing a professional and well-trained manpower. So second would be declaring sanitation working as a health hazard and making them a part of occupational safety and health working condition code. This is one of the labor codes that government has recently amended. So sanitation workers should be made a part of this particular code. The third one is track the health outcomes of workers. That is very frequently measure their health parameters, as in blood glucose level or any other oxygen content level, any other parameter that a regular person undergoes, that should be done for sanitation workers for increasing their lifespan. So this has been the recommendation. So if you get any critical analyze scheme of Swachh Bharat, or you can use this also as a part of your compassionate administration in GS paper 4, where you give due credit to everybody in your society. And when it comes to the next bit, it's a continuation of this topic. So very recently, there was an online campaign that became popular on Instagram called Wash the Dabba campaign. So it was basically started by by an NGO in Bangalore, where they were asking people to smell a bag of trash. And when they found that the smell is very foul, they nothing but drew attention to washing the containers before disposal. That is, we have an idea of ordering food from Swiggy, Zomato, but we just dispose the boxes without washing them. So the stale food smells very badly, and the people who segregate waste at the ground level, they face a lot of issue, and not a proper way of working or any motivation would be left for them to work in this manner. Hence, taking a small initiative of just washing or rinsing the vessels with water before disposing was an awareness campaign created by this NGO. So remember how social media can be used to make sure you give sensitive messages like this to the people, and it brings a lot of difference in solid waste management, and also to giving the sanitation worker the dignity that is to be given to them. So this would be one aspect of our topic, followed by the next one, which is again a case study from a European country. Okay, it is a case study from United Kingdom, where You can see the person in the image who is a homeless dweller. That is, in many of our urban areas, we have many sections of society that don't have a house of their own. They usually do some menial jobs and tend to doze off in the footpath itself. So, who knows the city better? A person who is driving around in a car or a two-wheeler or even buses, or a person who sleeps on the road. So this initiative is a new tourism initiative started in the state of in the country Uttarakhand. United Kingdom, where the street dwellers will be trained to act as tourist guides to people who come to see their city. So Edinburgh and Scotland and other areas were very popular tourist destinations. So they are mostly used. That is, the home dwellers are trained by the government and they act as trained tourists for the purpose of under the scheme called Invisible City Program. So this has been a very good initiative. So where can you use this initiative? Definitely it will be a part of our GS paper 2 governance, where innovation meets requirement. Correct. So there is a requirement to give dignified life to these people who are homeless. At the same time, roping them in tourist popularity will help community based approaches to urban homelessness. So as you know, tourism is a sunrise industry in India. We have many concepts called as niche tourism, where agriculture tourism, eco tourism, we talk about tribal tourism. So why not this idea also would help in uh, taking India's idea to many international platforms. The second thing is it would be relevant in our ethics paper as well, where we talk about empathy in leadership. Empathy in leadership is all about providing dignity for marginalized people, transforming their life experiences into a source of income and awareness for them. In the same GS paper 4, we talk about ethical tourism. So, what is ethical tourism? It is to promote social equity by integrating unrepresented voices into mainstream narrative. If you want to give this into an essay perspective, let's say you get an essay on inclusive growth. So in such essay topics, this is a very good example to replicate in our answer writing. So the next topic is from a very beautiful editorial from New Indian Express. But this editorial has many things in store for us. It's not just for exam purpose, but also for us in the life as a UPSC aspirant. Many a times we tend to be immersing ourselves into the loop of prelims, mains, interview, preparing exams, giving test series, completing syllabus. But do we really need to pause somewhere to see where we are heading? What lies in front of us? What are the alternatives we are having? Or is this exam our life in itself? So this article is for all of us from exam perspective and also on a personal note. So if you see, this article began with a series of questions. The purpose of putting this clip here is to give you an idea that even you can use this question format in your essay. So if you see, that article's heading is the need to step off the treadmill even if for a day. So if treadmill is not about any fitness enthusiasm we are talking about, it's basically about the fast paced lifestyle we all are moving in. So the purpose of the piece is to remind us and maybe even jolt us to jump out of the way we live. So see the questions that the author is putting. Are we focusing all the while on things we must not? Are we too focused on the smaller issues? As we focus on small issues, are we forgetting the bigger ones? Are we outsourcing the focus on these larger issues to the government that we mandate to govern us? In the bargain, do we miss the real issues for the not so real ones? So these are many questions that we actually need to ask ourselves as well. So when you write any essay, this is a model where you can ask multiple questions, go on answering it one by one in your essay. So first of all, the author talks here about air pollution. So daily for Indian cities, it has become a routine where we breathe in the unhealthy air, and by the time we realize and fight for this whole struggle, summer is coming and we forget the whole idea that air was once polluted. And again, the issue of air pollution comes only in the next year. So this, what is important to us is fast forwarding or living the life throughout the December month, or making sure next year's December is better by asking questions about air pollution. So with this, he tells that let's forget air pollution, let governments take care of it. We come to the empire of minds now. So if you recall, we had a recent UPSC essay question on the future of the world will be run by those who are based on the mind power. So please go through the essay that had come related to the mind empire being built by mind. So here the author tells that people of late have started working more with their fingers than with their hand. That is, whatever work we would do with our hands, let's say go and fix a bulb, let's say we go for shopping, pay money physically and buy some goods from there. So all those things are now replaced by fingers, where at the end of a touch we are getting many things to be changed. And with this kind of lifestyle, we are very proud that everything is a work of our mind. Correct? You think about it and you are able to implement that. So we are proud to be working with this mind. So basically what is happening, we are seeing that automation is being replaced or is replacing hard work. So what we are doing in automation, we are basically doing nothing but soft work with just a touch with our finger. But this is done by whom? It is done by our minds. So the question here is, are we becoming lazy in our daily life by automating things, working too much with mind and too less with hand? Are we really walking towards the right path, or is there something we need to worry about? So byproduct has been sedentary lifestyle. When we are working only with mind, our physical activity is taking a toll and we are having to pay huge amount on our health expenditures going forward in our life. So remember to quote the idea of the in the empire of minds. So the next problem that comes because of this issue is mental health. So of late, many of us have experienced breakdowns in our daily life. We have seen burnouts, people talking about burnout, that I'm tired of working, I need a break. So we have employers who are taking good use of the mental mind of the people. That is, employers want our mind to work harder and harder. So how will you come out of this extremely hard work that you do for 5 days in a weekend? Everything is dedicated for weekend, all the work. Like, people usually resort to partying, especially consumption of alcohols and smoking, to come out of the sedentary lifestyle or the stress that has come in the past 5 days. So this weekends are considered to be islands of fun by the author. So this fun doesn't last long. We should go back to the loop of 5-day and 2-day in a week. So this paradox of urban life is something that author is talking, or a kind of byproduct of automation. So the next one is sleep deprived lives. That is, even in Indian Express I column in the Sunday, there was an article which told that less than 7% of Indians, they sleep for a quality 6 hours of time. That is, sleep is a major ingredient which put back a human from rest and would give more productivity, but we don't have that minimum requirement itself, and India has now become a nation of sleep deprived people. So this is a reality of the modern world, is the author telling. And the next one, but a very important aspect, is how we behave in relationships. When was the last time we have spent quality time with friends and families? When was the last time we spent time with our own self to think whether what we are doing is right or not? So this whole article was filled up with many questions that was open-ended, and it had to be answered by we, the viewers. So remember, these kind of open-ended questions can be used in your essay as a pattern to give some unique perspectives as well. So as we have seen an essay related to FOMO that was based on a similar discussion, and we are seeing that many countries like Australia and Sweden are banning social media for children. And there are many cases reported with diseases like attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder being suffered by the people. So all this is nothing but related to the mundane lifestyles we are living in, and we don't want to come out of the loop and realize that what exactly is the meaning of life. So remember, for philosophical essays, this perspective of the meaning of life and this whole article would be relevant. So next we come to the bookshelf column, where we are going to learn about one chapter from the book, The Speaking Tree. So, speaking with the tree, so today we pick up the anthropologist Verrier Elvin, who has a major role in framing India's tribal policy. So, though this article is not directly related to environment, it has a link with it because it is about the tribal policy of Indian government. So, this is not just for your GS paper 3 conservation. This also becomes relevant in GS paper 1 tribal society, GS paper 2 policies of government, and GS paper 4 administration in tribal areas. And as always, you can use this thought process in your essays as well. So please note down. This Verrier Elvin as an author has told 5 principles of administration in tribal areas. Many of you would have read it in your optionals like anthropology, but this is mainly important for your GS syllabus as well. So the first point here would be the tribal policies or tribal development should always go along their own lines. That is, we should not try to impose anything on the tribal culture. Imposing is not allowed. You can take it down as development should be along their own lines, and we should avoid imposing anything on the tribal population. So the second one is about rights of the tribals. So what kind of rights the tribal should be given? Right over the land and forest. Okay, these two are the important rights that tribals need to be given, and it has to be protected by every government that comes to power. The third one is about administrators, or let's say the forest guards and everybody who's working to represent government in tribal areas should be developed from tribal people only. That is, develop a manpower who is taken out from the tribal people and they are trained to help the tribals. So administrators who are outsiders may not be a good idea in tribal areas. And the fourth but very important point here is about no over administration. That is, administer but no over administration. That is, don't meddle too much with the issues of the tribals. This would hurt their tribal policies, or this would hurt their practices. The last one but very important of the topics here is about how do you see if any tribal scheme is working out or not. Remember, this is the most important parameters. What is the idea of development for general society may not be true for the tribals. So fifth point is result of the scheme. How do you analyze that whether a scheme is successful or not? It should be based on quality of the person or a human character that is evolved, not on any numbers. Okay, so this was a very popular idea put up. How do you check if the results of the scheme, or how do you judge the result of the scheme? Not in statistics or monetary terms, but quality of human character that is evolved. So these were the 5 principles of administration in tribal areas. So if you are getting any questions related to Forest Rights Act 2006, rehabilitation of tribals under Project Tiger, in all this critical analysis, you can use what the anthropologist Verrier Elvin has quoted. So he had some unique perspective as well, which I think would be very supportive for your answers with respect to conservation and others. So shifting cultivation or slash and burn agriculture has always been de-glorified in our books. De-glorified because they're considered to be very pollutant, they're harming the topsoil. But traditionally, many tribal populations in India, like Baigas, have practiced it. That is, they would burn a forest and allow it to regrow, and the time gap would be 12 years, which would help a lot in succession of the forest or development of a new forest there. But of late, in the name of protecting the forest, the governments in the Britishers' time from then have considered shifting cultivation unscientific and destructive. So, according to Verrier Elvin, instead of banning shifting cultivation, it can be regulated. Why it can be regulated? Because by banning shifting agriculture, we are not only doing a social harm but also a psychological harm to the tribals who share a close history with the forest. So this idea could be relevant for you, that is regulated shifting cultivation. Fine. And the next one is the idea of forest. This was a very beautiful depiction of the bond that tribals share with the forest. So many a time tribals use the term Pashupati. So no, this Pashupati is not from our Indus Valley civilization. Pashu here is animal, Pati is the owner. That is, tribals call themselves as the owners of the forest land and the animal life. So by telling this, they are not ruling over the animals, they are nothing but staying in a symbiotic relationship with many of the forest animals. So this is what Verrier-Elmin calls is the scientific management of forest. So for tribals, forests are the central to their culture and sense of self. So tribals believe that there are many spirits in the forest. This could be a good introduction to your essay. Anything that we are talking about environment, ecology, or vulnerable sections, it is told that forests are, there are many spirits which stay in the forest in the form of different trees, and these spirits are worshipped and protected by the tribesmen. And the second identity of tribes with the forest is that they feel that they are the owners of the forest. So when Britishers came and put their guards near the forests and told that you cannot enter the forest, it questioned the whole authenticity of the forest's existence for the tribal people. So in the third perspective, in the 19th century, when colonial masters took over the forest, they created a disruption in the life of the tribal population, because economic and cultural life of the tribals was completely surrounding around the forest. But these tribals were told that you have to stay out of the forested area and we are protecting forest. So it is like keeping the watchman out of the area and telling we are protecting the forest. Hence we see so many tribal revolts coming up. At the same time, they don't just own the forest, they revere the forest, they worship the forest as a motherland, and would not believe in deep plowing of the area because it is hurting the motherland. Hence they practice shifting cultivation. So all these ideas of tribal identity that Verrier-Elmin has highlighted to conserve the environment and the forest as a mutual relationship between them is to be represented in your GS3 answers and also GS1. So this chapter was ended with a very popular quote by Mr. Ramchandra Guha, who tells that tribals were at home with nature and nature was at home with them. So basically it is that both tribals and forests need each other. So with this, we'll end today's discussion. Meet you in the next episode. Thank you.